Welcome to Enlightened World Network. Sue Seekoff here with Michele Landers. We're so delighted to have Michele at EWN for the July numerology forecast. She's going to be sharing insights about the month ahead, and we're excited to hear them. Michele is a professional numerologist and life coach, and she'll tell you more later. Thank you, Michele, for being here.
Thank you, Sue. I love being on here every month, and I appreciate the platform to share the information because, gosh, lots of things happening. So let me dig right in here and welcome everyone. So when I was doing this, I kept hearing in my head Marvin Gaye's song from 1971, "What's Going On," and I think I would sing a bar or two, but I don't think you want to hear that. But I think that song is so appropriate right now. So July, what do I say about July? It is confusing, it is contradictory. There is so much going on this month and some very strong energy. We have a few retrograde planets. We have Mercury, Neptune, Saturn, all retrograde. And retrograde, as a reminder, is all about, going inward and going back over things. So we're going to find a lot of things from the past coming back up. And with Neptune, which, I love Neptune. It's this illusionary, sometimes delusionary, but it's an illusionary planet. But we can get a glimpse behind the veil of what's really going on in some areas. It's a weird back and forth month. It's not all going to be, terrible, but it's packed full of surprises and unusual events. So, and I guess that's nothing new right now. So we're just past the midpoint of the year. And I really wanted to comment on the significance of 2024. So far, it's been a series of unexpected, confusing, and a lot of surprising events, on again, off again, radical announcements. And all of it kind of is keeping us in this state of confusion or anxiety or worried. And I know there are so many astrologers as well as numerologists who thought that this year was going to be a significant turning point. Um, Even like I said, it's debate in public forum around AI between AI companies and how to deploy AI for automation. And maybe what's happening right now is there's going to be some workers who are going to rebel because they know that AI might be taking away their job, or maybe some policy, but it's just crazy, but it is a significant turning point this year. So remember that, because just an aside, I'm going to throw this out. By 2026, Pluto is going to sextile Neptune and Saturn and trine Uranus. And all of the outer planets, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, Saturn, are going to form this amazing configuration with each other. And it does have the potential to really benefit mankind in ways that maybe we haven't seen. So all of this was kind of predicted, which I'm going to get into from many, many, many years ago. So it's a big turning point, but especially for the USA, which I think a lot of people are aware of, because the United States is currently experiencing its first Pluto return in the USA's astrological chart. So this year, Pluto returns to its original position at the time of our founding, July 4th, 1776. And I know some people say that's not the exact date, but for the most part, that's the date that we use, whether it's traditional astrology or Vedic astrology or numerology, that's what we use. So this astrological transit occurs every 248 years. So as I mentioned, this is a period of intense transformation and potentially a lot of upheaval. So everything that is happening as I look back at the last 6 months should not be a surprise. And I also found something else interesting. There are psychics, astrologers, numerologists, and others who delve into the occult. And I don't mean the occult as in dark, negative witchcraft or anything like that. Occult is just hidden. So I use that word like hidden wisdom. And some who lived years ago who saw 2025 as a significant turning point for the world. Now, I'm not talking about Nostradamus, although I believe he did have a lot to say about 2025, but I wanted to mention a woman, Alice Bailey, who was a writer, an esoteric astrologer. I think she was a psychic too. She was born June 16th, 1880, and she passed in 1949. Now, she's considered one of the founding voices of the New Age movement, and she was probably best known for her books on theosophy. And theosophy was founded by another incredible visionary, Helen Blavatsky. So, Alice Bailey was credited with coining the phrase New Age. She was very influential during her lifetime as a spiritual seeker, a writer, a teacher, and as I mentioned, an esoteric astrologer. And Alice Bailey, which I found this out, I was really like kind of a little bit shocked. She had something to say about the year 2025. And that's what really piqued my interest. So, what did she say? She also said that 2025 would be a critical spiritual turning point. So, she predicted in 2025 a major, and follow me along on this, because, and if take a walk on the wild side, that's what I'm going to say. She said that a major meeting or conclave, and I think a lot of people are familiar with conclave, the word conclave these days, would take place on the inner planes. Now, what do I mean on the inner planes? Well, spiritually speaking, the inner planes are the higher realms of existence or consciousness. So these inner or higher planes transcend the 3D world, and it's associated with the divine. So Alice claimed to be in contact with these higher beings. She was told that 2025 would be a time of great spiritual decisions by the spiritual hierarchy. She uses that term, spiritual hierarchy, as a reference to enlightened beings or masters, wisdoms, and for what purpose? Well, the purpose, and this is so fascinating, is to evaluate our progress as humans and to determine the next phase of spiritual work for the planet. Who knew? And isn't that rich? So this great spiritual decision by the spiritual hierarchy could lead to masters or enlightened teachers becoming much more visible, which I absolutely believe, and active in world affairs. She also felt, and I think that surely other people have heard this, that there would be a reappearance of the Christ, of the world teacher. Now, one of her core teachings is that the world teacher, the Christ or Maitreya, would return once humanity had made sufficient progress. Look, I don't know exactly where we stand on that timeline, but I don't know. I don't think it's great, but I could be so wrong about that. And I think it's time for them to get involved. At any rate, she also said that the years leading up to and around 2025 were seen as preparation for this reappearance. But And this was the part that was a little confusing, because she also said, this is not a literal return, but the emergence of a new global consciousness. And how beautiful is that? Centered on unity, love, and service. So, okay, I think that's what we're all wanting, right? And for a lot of people, it might seem, how could that even be possible with what's going on? But remember, we often need a breakdown to a breakthrough. And things have been so off for so long that there's so much to dig out of and dig up. So it's not really that shocking, right? She also added that Aquarius would bring in the energy of the seventh ray. And that is the ray of ritual, of order, and spiritual manifestation on earth. So what are the seven rays? The seven rays are seven different creative forces of the universe, which I'm not really going to go into that now because we have a lot to cover, but that's what this are. So another great teacher, which I mentioned previously in Mystic, was Madame Helen Blavatsky. And she also speaks of the seven rays and how they are related to celestial beings. And this is the perfect segue to the numerology about this month. So how does all of this align with the astrology and the numerology of 2025 and this month? I think it's a big, big, big puzzle piece and this month, and it's in alignment with the occult sciences. Overall, why do things feel so different? This is not just a new chapter. It's as if we're writing a whole new book. We are in the great restructuring of the 2020s, which began with the Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter Pluto alignments, and they are now maturing into a visionary, future oriented phase. There is an acceleration of collective awakening. We all know technological advancement like you've never seen before, and societal reinvention. So, numerologically, first, just as a reminder to everyone, I just like to remind people we're in a 9 year in 2025, which is all about endings, clearing out what no longer works. I mean, I think we're all feeling this intensity. 9 is very intense, very passionate, very strong. The 9 is really trying to shake that tree of knowledge and untruths. Now, think back to 2016, 9 years ago, and we have in numerology, everything cycles in 9 years. We were also in a 9 year. And what kind of shocking year was that? Trump was elected. That set off all kinds of repercussions, interference from Russia. The UK left the EU, outbreak of the Zika virus, major terrorist attacks, and more. So as far as numerology is concerned, every 9 years, things like that comes around, but it also asks the question, how are we doing as humans and our spiritual evolution, our compassion? How about unity? Because in numerology, it's all about learning what your path is, what your passions are, and how to grow spiritually. There's certainly more to it, but basically it's about growing spiritually. And numerology points to every year, what are the challenges and what are the gifts? So every 9 years, we hit that 9 year mark, and the consequences of not learning our lessons, so to speak, keep piling up. So what really shakes up the status quo? Well, I mentioned, I guess, numerous times, Pluto is fully in Aquarius now. And yes, it is a long-term transit. I think it ends in 2030 something. And it's just beginning. but it is the beginning of breaking down of old structures and the old way of being. And just look at this year so far. Just recently, not to be political, it's just a surprising event. Who thought that Zohran Mamdani, a 33-year-old, would be in this race for mayor of New York? I think this is also a trend towards younger people. I know even my granddaughter is getting more involved politically, and people with progressive ideas and vision popping up, becoming politically involved, rising up, and the gradual decline and elimination of the old guard. Okay, so we have a number of outer planets changing signs, which is unusual and points to major changes. So over and over again, it appears 2025 is a pivot point. And I think especially this month and next month, July, August, September, big months in September. And it's a spiritual call to action, a time for us to wake up. And I had some tarot cards, and I don't have the one that I wanted to show you, but that's okay. I have some other ones. It's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to align with a higher purpose, to be of service, and to have real soul awareness, not to send out hate, to try as best as you can not to be in this state of fear and worry, to have faith. I mean, if you believe in a higher power and you believe in the divine, then does that not give you some comfort? And just to remember, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So Neptune is very much at play, as I mentioned, and it resonates to the number 7, underwater, overwater, earthquakes, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So let's talk about the very mystical number 7, which is a driving force this month of July for the world. Again, there's strong themes of water. Neptune is very watery, very illusionary. So there are things, either disturbances on water, in water, having to do with water. We know that the weather has been so crazy, and of course flooding, but it's interesting. I don't know if there's war on water. I don't even want to say that, but there are things underwater, overwater, underwater. Okay, I wanted to talk about the Ring of Fire, but I think I'm going to wait a little bit for that. So in numerology, 7 is so interesting. I consider it the number of God, and yet the mystical number 7 is also the devil. It's the devil or the angel. So when I see someone with the number 7 as a life path, I know a few things for sure. They're here to teach or to be a specialist in some area. They're also meant to dive deep into spirituality. Many 7s are teachers, analysts, engineers, ministers, antique collectors, or simply a specialist in one area. And interestingly and surprisingly, many are addicts. And why is that? And, I always wondered about that because that came up so often. More the 7s and 5s come up a lot of times with addictions. And why is that? Well, I think that they chose to incarnate with addictions to either clear up some karma or to be a presence in others' lives that their addiction would teach others. Because if you've ever been involved in an addict, it spreads all over: family, friends, workers. So, there's a couple of reasons for someone, showing up with a 7 and addictions. So to put it simply, though, the positive characteristics of the number 7, well, it's considered the number of God, of divinity. And think about how many things are related to the number 7. Supposedly the world was created, and on the 7th day, the divine rested. It's very, very popular in the Bible. The seventh day, again, is considered the Sabbath. There are 7 seals, trumpets, revelations. 7 seems to be a pattern of God and judgment. And on another level, there are 7 notes to musical scale. There are 7 wonders of the world, 7 colors of the rainbow, and on and on and on. So 7 is a very powerful and influential number. And that's the number we are in. 7 brings up all of this stuff that has been hidden. Things will be illusionary. There's still going to be a lot of deception going on. So the tarot cards for this month are number 7. Can you see that? Let me see. The Chariot. Okay. And what's the Chariot? The Chariot is choosing the right path, overcoming challenges, and as Dora would say, just keep swimming, just keep going. Then we have another card of the tarot that is a little bit scary, but let me explain it to you. And that is the 16th card, because 6 and 1 is 7, and that's a Tower. Okay, well, in this picture, it depicts an actual building on fire. Now, that actually could be a possibility. I don't want to, make anybody frightened or scared, but that is the card and that is it. But let's talk more about the meaning of that card. It means that things have been built on a shaky ground. And because it's been built on a shaky ground, it only takes one bolt of lightning or one thing to bring it down. So it talks about ambitions and goals that are made on false promises. And the lightning represents a sudden urge of energy and insight that leads to the breakthrough or revelation. So it enters into the top of the building, knocks off the crown, symbolizing energy flowing down and through the crown chakra. Now we have another card that we'll talk about, and that is, can you see that? Yeah, the Hermit. Okay. What's the Hermit about? It's self-reflection, it's introspection, it's contemplation, it's withdrawal, it's solitude. It's searching for answers. It's searching for truth. He holds a lantern. He has a 6-pointed star inside the lantern. It's the seal of Solomon. It's a symbol of wisdom. And as the hermit walks along his path, the lamp lights his way. And it's really more about having faith, one step at a time, having faith, and having a lot of love. So again, July is the 7th month. Neptune represents dreams, illusions, intuition, and spirituality. It's about things hidden. And again, as I said, because it seems to be really important this month, it's about water. And it could be, again, maybe military action on water. I'm not sure about that. And on July 4th, Neptune will retrograde in Aries. Now, Aries is a fire sign and Neptune is illusion. Aries likes action, and Aries can challenge and force things out in the open. Things that we have been deluded by, secrets, unveiling, uncovering. It's a time overall where we will be leaning towards reviewing, analyzing, going deep as far as uncovering the truth. And I want to mention that that's personally as well as globally. So, and behind the scenes, it seems like there's secret plans are being made, but it's also reevaluating previous plans that we've had. So I just had to stop for a minute and take a look at all that's happened so far. And it's just so much, and it is time to wake up and face up to what's happened and what's happening. It's facing the truth and reevaluating our decisions. And it is a month of, excuse me, I seem to have a hair over here that's driving me crazy. It's facing the truth and reevaluating our decisions. It's also a month where important decisions are being made. Now, I don't know if that has anything to, well, I'm not even going to go there politically, so we're going to stop that. All right. But another good thing about the 7 is there's going to be a big increase, and this has been happening, but there's even more people involving themselves in spiritual studies and things like astrology, numerology, Reiki, healing, energy healing, and all it runs the gamut. But more and more people are saying, I need something more. There is something more going on, and I need to tap into that. I need peace in my life. Of course, wild global weather changes, and yeah, there's something called a ring of fire, which will likely be activated this month. That's what I've been hearing. That's what I've been seeing. That's what I've been feeling. So the ring of fire is a major area in the basin of the Pacific Ocean. And you can look it up and you'll see it's a horseshoe shaped belt that follows the edges of the Pacific Ocean. And it, most primarily affects countries around the Pacific Ocean. That includes Indonesia, New Zealand, the Philippines, Japan. I think something's going on with Japan, Indonesia, the west coast of the United States, of Canada, Russia, Guatemala, Peru, Chile, Mexico, and Antarctica. So that ring of fire is probably going to be activated, which can mean volcanoes erupting. It can mean tsunamis. I mean, I hope not, but there's a lot of signs indicating that. The other thing that's going on right now, and with this number 7, is we may be losing some politicians. Either they're leaving, somebody might pass away, but it seems, the indication seems to be that it's somebody that we know that's important. It's not a great month. I know that Trump June, it was his birthday, but he might be feeling kind of blocked or annoyed at the way things are going. But anyway, it calls for a deep soul searching and a realization of the intense inner changes that we're all going through. And believe me, well, you don't have to believe me, but I believe that we are definitely being guided and we're being protected. And I feel like this hierarchy is saying, hang on, just hang on. There's still going to be some deconstruction going on, but in the end, it's going to be okay. Now, for the United States, we're in a 2 personal year, which is, again, very female oriented and all about trying to bring things together. And it's balance and imbalance. Every number gives and every number challenges. So the good part of the 2 is, let's get some balance here. The challenging part of the 2 is we don't have any balance. Everything is imbalanced, but we have to really work on bringing things into balance. And I'll talk about how we do that individually in a minute. So this month for the United States is a 9 month. Now, I talked a little bit about the 9. It's about endings. It's very intense. It's very emotional. It's very sensitive. It's very unpredictable. It's very tense. It's very demanding. More and more protests, conflicts, unstable relationships are going to reach a critical mass, a lot of anger, but also a lot of anger on the part of the people. So we need a lot of diplomacy this month, which Honestly, I know it seems like it's so hard to do, but we can do it. We need to avoid as best as possible confrontations because this is a month where people can get really triggered. And it has to do a lot with legalities, a lot of legal stuff coming up. And again, even though that is for the United States and everything I'm talking about, you can take it personally as well. Um, just have to strive for some kind of balance and positive negotiations. So if you're in the political arena, just look to do that in your own space. And I can't tell you how important that is because they say, as above, so below. And if you want to make changes in the world, make changes within yourself. And that's why this is so important. It's not a great month to forward any plans. I'm not saying it's the worst, but it's not the best. But if you have some plans, it's okay for like long distance travel. That 9 is usually good for that. But if you have plans that you can wait to implement, wait till next month, that would be great. Okay. So what are the monthly, daily astrology? Okay. All right. So on the 4th, we have Venus in Gemini. It's Venus likes Gemini. It wants to have a relationship. It's a good time to, be with people, good for communication skills and being with people and having fun. But there's also another side to it. But there are reality checks that are possible when Neptune stations retrograde on the 4th. So you may have to reconsider your plans or consider, do they make sense? Have you been too hasty? And that retrograde remains until October 13. So it's plenty of time to reflect on things, right? So Jupiter entered the sign of Cancer on June 9th, and it's going to remain there until June 30th, 2026. Now, that's really good for the people. Although we may not be seeing it in full bloom, it really can shift energies. Now, again, it's until next year in favor of the people, even in the midst of all this chaos going on. So, with all these planets going retrograde, it brings a much deeper assessment of things and reassessment. So, what you do need to know, though, is we still haven't reached this critical phase of what's going on, which will probably come in early or mid August of this year. I wanted to bring up another, talking about that ring of fire. There is I think it's an artist. Where are my notes here? What is her name now? I think it's Tazaki or something like that. And she is an artist, and she made some like eerie predictions about a major disaster hitting Japan around July the 5th. And she also sees this eruption of massive volcanoes under the sea, yes, somewhere between Japan and the Philippines. So that is really interesting. Yeah, her name is Tatsuki, and that's the predictions that she's made. And she has made some previous predictions that came true. And I'm sorry that I don't have it available to tell you, but she did. So today, Saturn and Neptune are forming this very tight conjunction in Pisces. And it's sudden changes, sudden insights. And tomorrow, that really starts the ball rolling. There may be some legal things that pop up or things that are happening that we're going, what? And again, July 4th, Neptune will be retrograde in Aries. And although there's so many good things about the July 4th, there is this Uranus is at, Venus is going to conjunct Uranus at 29 degrees Taurus. Now, talk about fun. So even though this is a really good day for a lot of interaction, and as long as you don't get into confrontations, that conjunction and that is pretty significant, because when Uranus or any planet reaches a 29th degree, it's called an anaretic degree, and that's when things culminate, because it's the last degree or a crisis point. A lot of protesters probably on the 4th, and it can bring unexpected changes and breakthroughs and shifts. And well, where can we expect these unexpected shifts and changes? Well, with Venus has to do with beautiful things and love and values. With Taurus, it would be home, stability, finances, security. But again, Uranus and Taurus has been doing this since around 2018. But we do have Venus entering Gemini. And again, that's from July 4th to July 30th, 2025. And again, despite some of the challenging aspects, it's kind of a mix, So I would say make your plans, be happy and grateful for whatever you have in your life, and love your family, be communicative. It's a time where it could be a more heartfelt and playful energy as well. And it also encourages us to embrace new ideas. And that's really important too, because I think we're being asked to open up our minds, and we think that we've had these certain beliefs for so long and we're so married to them. And I invite everybody to reconsider their beliefs and say, where did this come from? Why do I believe that? Is it serving me? So moving on, July 6th, we have Venus in Gemini, and it forms sextiles to Saturn and Neptune. That's a pretty nice harmonious transit. It's creative. It has some substance to it. July 7th. So this is some big planetary news. It's another very important transit. Uranus will enter Gemini on July 7th, and it'll form a trine to Pluto. This is high voltage mental energy. It can be a catalyst for some big changes and transformations, but also disruptions. Now, Uranus in Gemini is a 7-year transit. So this is kicked off. And when these things happen, it's usually when it first happens, first transit, there's things that happen that coincide or in conjunction with that transit, but then maybe it slows down, especially when it's a long-term one. So radical innovations in communication, learning, and technology. That's what Gemini is. And what's Uranus? It's surprises and shocking or unusual events. Also very high voltage energy. It can bring positive changes. And again, it's a catalyst for big transformations, also disruptions. But it's a lot of innovation underway when Uranus goes into Gemini. But again, it's a 7-year transit. So we are going to grow technologically by leaps and bounds. And some things are just going to blow our minds, really. So I want to talk about Uranus a little bit because it is such a big player right now. It's the liberator and the great awakener. And Uranus likes to shake things up. It's surprises, it's innovation, it's revolutionary. It's associated with eccentric behavior, rebellion, innovation, sudden change. It's a very restless energy. It doesn't like convention. And I know that because that's one of my ruling planets. I'm Aquarius. And that's why it's considered unconventional. And that's why it's drawn to new ideas and experiences. So what about Gemini? Gemini is ruled by Mercury. What's Mercury? Mercury is the messenger. And it's a planet of intellect and connection. And it's associated with quantum leap to technology and how we communicate, language, media, and including, of course, AI, youth and education. It can change the way people see things. It can challenge and shake things up. Um, Ideas we previously thought were true or real, and it, rips that band-aid off or pulls the curtain back on Oz, social revolutions, transportation breakthroughs, air travel. And I'm going to throw this word out, teleportation. And if you think that is crazy, I just want to mention that about 5 years ago, I think it's a little bit hazy in my mind, but it was reported in some science magazine that some Japanese scientists were able to teleport some very small, I don't know if it's a molecule or what I would call it, but they were able to teleport it. It seems like nothing, but that's the beginning. So eventually, will teleportation be something that we experience? That's pretty wild, right? But I don't think it's I don't think it's that crazy. So there's definitely going to be leaps and bounds, anything connected to technology. One of the nice things about it, it becomes harder to deceive people and ourselves, and it can be very humbling for some people in power. Okay, so let's move on though. I was going to talk about some of the things that happened, but I really want to move forward with the prediction. So July 10th, we have a full moon in Capricorn. With a new moon, a full moon is great for releasing things, rebalancing things, focus on what are your duties, what are your responsibilities. On July 11th, we have Rahu North lunar node and the sun, and we have issues around power and identity. A big spotlight that day or around that time. And that's the other thing I think I should be clear on. These are approximates, and the energy from these planetary movements and even the numerology can be a couple of days before, a couple of days after, maybe even longer. So yeah, it's a big spotlight on leaders, on government, on corporation. On July 13th, Saturn is retrograde in Aries. That's again about, Aries, Saturn is structure and doing things, laying a good foundation. And Aries is, I want to do this. So with Saturn, you go, okay, wait a minute. Let's just review all this. Let's look at our responsibilities. Let's just be very careful with this. Around the 20th, we have Mars in Leo, and it forms an exact conjunction with K2. Now, I have mixed in a little bit of Vedic astrology and traditional, so some people may not like that, but it works for me. So that's a very aggressive and fiery combo. Mars, that's the warring planet. Leo, aggressive. It can, I mean, we just have to be aware, because that combination sometimes can represent some type of terror attack or terrorism. It can bring a lot of changes, blow ups, explosions. Mars is fire, things being burned down, could be cyber attacks. On another level, it's heat waves, incredible heat waves. Not very good for leaders, because Leo is a leader. Leaders can fall, literally, figuratively. Yeah, so that's around that time, it's pretty intense. And on July 22nd, we actually have the sun that goes into Leo, and that's pretty passionate, and that really steps things up even more. On the 24th, we have a new moon in Leo, and a new moon opposing Pluto. And this feels like, big ego struggling, like power struggles, sabotage. It's the sun and the moon together opposing Pluto. And July 31st, we have Venus enters Cancer, and that's emotion, home-centered, heart. So that kind of wraps up the month. It's very powerful transits this month. So I want to just mention to you, how do you prepare for this spiritually? Okay, this is really important. I hear around me people who are worried, anxious, angry. I understand that what's going on in this outer world can be terrifying and frightening and anxiety ridden. And this is the time you have to have faith that there's a reason this is happening and it's going to lead to the greater good. So instead, try so hard to increase your meditation, any spiritual practices, and keep reminding yourself that there's a bigger plan here. There's a divine plan. So align with other people who connect with like-minded souls, do service, collaborate with like-minded souls, form groups, do whatever you can to reinforce this spiritual upliftment of the world, and cultivate your inner disciplines. We're being asked if we believe what Alice Bailey said. We're kind of being judged right now, but we're being asked to spiritually mature. Stay curious, keep learning things, allow your beliefs to evolve. How could they evolve? You can ask that question of yourself. How do I evolve my beliefs? What does that look like? And you get an answer. One of the things that I love to do is ask questions of the universe, write it down on Post-it notes, and paste it all over the house. And you'd be surprised what things show up for you. Embrace uncertainty. I know that's hard, but embrace it. Say, okay, I'm in this, but I'm going to take the high road. I'm going to send love instead of hate. Stay open to the signs of emergence. And what I mean is, like, stay open to watching what groups are forming or what people are showing up, spiritually minded people. Protect your nervous system. Gemini rules the nervous system. So grounding practices like yoga, again, breath work, meditation, spending time in nature, walking barefoot in nature. I just recently bought one of those grounding earth mattresses, cover for it. So it's pretty good. And just experiment with new forms of spiritual practices and learn more about how you can evolve spiritually. But I think the most important thing is keep an open mind, and we'll get through this. Just have faith and love, and just trust. Just please trust. And we'll see how all of this plays out. And I'll see you next month on the 1st. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. That was great.
Oh, I felt like I was on a roller coaster ride when I was
Take
doing
a drink
this.
of water. Do you have any
Yeah.
water?
Yes, I do
Yeah.
need that right now.
You did really share an enormous amount of information, and it
Yeah,
made
I hope it.
sense. It was integrated. It really, I listened to everything,
Oh,
so it was worth it.
oh, good. I hope it wasn't too confusing. There's just so much, and
No, wasn't
it,
confusing.
okay,
No,
the stuff about Alice Bailey really, and seeing that other people predicted the big change for 2025 just is mind blowing. You can't, you hear this expression, but it's true. You can't make this stuff up. So we are in the midst of change, but we have to, the more you surround yourself with like-minded people and love and positive, like you always have such a big smile, Sue, and I
yeah.
love that because that affects other people.
Well,
It
this is
really
the Enlightened
does.
World Network. We're a community of caring, kind, honest people, and we
Yes.
practice and support each other. And so we do invite everyone to join us as best they can and explore what we have. There are meditations here and breath work and dialogue and affirmations and so many tools, and you get to pick whatever you like. But
Yes.
the reason
And
why I smile is because of Enlightened World Network.
so that's a perfect example of something that is uplifting. An Enlightened World Network is just such a incredible, wonderfully incredible place to fill your spiritual bucket. And with all the meditations and all the shows, I mean, yeah, people tune in every day. There's stuff going on, and it starts in the morning, with Terry, with Cup of Joy, and great meditations. And even there might be I might be doing some workshops, who knows, in the future.
Yeah,
But yeah, tune into Enlightened World Network. It is your place for solace and peace and love.
yeah. And thank you so much,
Thank
Michelle,
you. Oh,
for
my pleasure.
being a part of our community and bringing us these insights. I wrote down all the dates you gave us because I put them in my calendar to remind
Oh
myself.
gosh. Okay. Well, remember, a lot of these things can happen
Yeah.
around.
Oh,
I learned that quite a few times when
yeah.
I thought something was going to happen that day, but it was like the day before, the day after. So it's
Yeah.
energy.
Just to be mindful of speech,
Yes.
action, and intention as best we can, and then forgive ourselves when we can't.
Yes. 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 Yes.
It
Yes.
happens.
You need to do a workshop on happiness.
Oh,
You
well,
do.
thank
Yes.
you.
A
All
big
right.
smile.
All right. So
Yeah.
thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everyone who's joined us. That's it for today. Please do come back and visit us again and take care. We really care about you. So
Yeah.
we hope you have the best month.
Thank you.